have no idea where to start when it comes to makeup, this video is for you. Hey friend, my name is Jasmine. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a beginner makeup look using all drugstore and affordable products. And I can completely understand that it can be confusing to learn as a beginner. So if you want to learn how to get this makeup look as a beginner using drugstore and affordable products, keep on watching. Okay, so first you want to make sure your skin is clean and moisturized. I've already done this, so I'm going to skip this step for the video because I already did my skincare this morning. After that, we're going to start with brows. I think as a beginner, it is easiest to do your brows first. So I always tell everybody to do this, but make sure you clean any skincare, any product, anything out of your brows. You want your brows to be clean and dry before you start. My current favorite brow product from the drugstore or that's affordable is the Maybelline Build-A-Brow. I love this product because it's a 2-in-1 product. It has a gel on one side and a pen on the other side. Mine is in the shade Black Brown. You can use either one first, but I like to use the gel first. And I'm just going to brush that all throughout my brows. And I'm brushing them up, down, side to side, just to make sure that they're completely coated in gel. And then we can use the brush to just shape them into place. I like to brush my brows up and over. You don't want to look like you got electrocuted or something, so don't stick your brows straight up. And then you can just press them in with your finger. I also have this spatula tool. I also have this brow brush with a spatula on the end, but if you don't have that, that's okay. You can just use your finger to press your brow hairs down. And then next I'm taking a Q-tip and I'm putting some liquid makeup remover on it. And I'm using this to clean around my brows. This will make sure that the gel doesn't mess up the rest of your base, because the gel on your face can cause pilling or just separation that doesn't need to be there. So definitely clean that up. And then I like to shake it up and use the pen side. I'm just going to use this to draw hair-like strokes to just fill in any sparse areas. I love this pen because of how forgiving it is. It's not too easy to make mistakes, and if you do make a mistake by chance, you can just wipe it off with your finger before it dries. If you want, you can also use a brow pencil. Unfortunately, I do not own a affordable brow pencil at the time that I am filming this, but I do love, sorry, it's like hard to talk while I'm doing my brows. I do love the NYX micro brow pencil, but I definitely ran out of it and I have not repurchased it. So if it is easier for you to use a brow pencil, I definitely recommend that one. Next, I'm going to take a concealer that is close to my skin tone, maybe 1 or 2 shades lighter. This is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade, girl, what's the shade? I'm not sure what shade this is, but I will definitely leave it in the description. So I'm going to take this on a small flat brush, and I'm just going to put some concealer on both sides of the brush, and then I'm just going to conceal underneath my brows. You can conceal on top of your brows if you please. I only like to conceal the tail. And since this concealer is so close to my skin tone, I am going to use the same one. But if your concealer is a little bit brighter, I would definitely use your foundation. And then I'm just going to use a fluffy angled brush. You can use any concealer brush to blend this out. And make sure there aren't any harsh lines of concealer around your brows. It's a good brow day, girl. I know we're gonna have a good makeup day because it's a good brow day. Next thing that we're going to do is use primer. Some people debate whether primer is necessary or not necessary, but I highly recommend it for everyone. Your primer is going to depend on your skin type. So if you have dry skin, you're going to want to use something that is more hydrating. And if you have oily skin, you're going to want to use something that's more mattifying. The primer that I'm going to use today is the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer with niacinamide. I think if you have oily skin, this primer will be good. If you have any type of skin, this primer will be good, but I think the niacinamide would really help if you have oily skin. And this primer is really good for gripping your makeup and helping it last longer. That's primarily what primer is supposed to do. So I'm just massaging that into my skin. And then with this primer, you will definitely feel a tackiness. Like, look at that. The grip, look at this. Like, it's going to grip your makeup. Next, this is an important step that I feel a lot of beginners skip, especially if you have a deep skin tone. This is very important. You need to be color correcting if you have any kind of hyperpigmentation. I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Camo Corrector. This is the orange one. If you have a deep skin tone and you have dark circles and hyperpigmentation, this is what you're going to want to use. So I'm just going to place some of it under my eyes. Just a small amount. You don't want to add this like you're putting on concealer. You only need a small amount of this. I'm also going to put some around my mouth because this area of my face is a little bit darker than the rest. And then you can use a concealer brush to blend that in. As you can see, the corrector just blended into my skin. It's not, I mean, you can see a little bit of an orange tint, but it's not like my whole face is orange, you know what I mean? And then especially under the eye, you don't want your under eye to be orange at all. You just want this to completely blend into the skin and correct the darkness, as you can see. Next, we're going to use foundation. The one I'm going to be using today is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. If you have oily skin, this foundation is amazing. By the way, I'm in the shade Mocha. And don't worry, I know this shade looks a little bit frightening, but it is going to blend into my skin. I also really like the Revlon foundations and also Maybelline, L'Oreal. There are plenty of good drugstore foundations. I just applied it to my face with a flat brush first, and then I'm using this Real Techniques 41 brush. Okay, I will be honest with you, girl. I haven't picked up the NYX one in a long time. And I was like, is this my shade? But as you can see, it oxidized a little bit. For the most seamless blend, I believe in doing your contour, creamer, liquid blush, and then your concealer, whether you're a beginner or not. I believe this will help you to easily blend things together. For my contour today, I'm going to be using the NYX Wonder Stick. I absolutely love this contour stick. Mine is in the shade Deep Rich, and I love this contour stick because it has a really good shade range. The way that you contour your face, girl, these trucks, like, what's with these trucks driving by when I'm trying to film? Like, girl. Anyway, the way that you contour your face is going to be different according to your face shape, but I always like to start in the hollow of my cheekbone, like so. If you're a beginner, I don't believe in doing all these crazy contour techniques. If you have sideburns, it's likely going to be where your sideburns end as well. And then I personally also like to contour my forehead, so I'm just putting some on the perimeter of my forehead. Some people use cream contour on their nose. I personally don't because I think it can look a little bit muddy. You can also, if you like, put it on your jawline. I have a pretty soft jawline, so I'm going to add some to mine. So if you're a beginner, I think this is a good way to place your contour, no matter what your face shape is, but you can adjust as you learn more. And then using a dense brush, I'm going to blend the contour in, and you don't want to drag your face down. So when you're blending, make sure you are blending upwards. And I'm gradually bringing it closer and closer to the front of my cheekbone. So as you can see, that creates a nice shadow on my cheek. I don't like to blend my jawline too high. I actually like to blend this down a little bit because you don't want there to be a distinct line there. You want it to be really blended into your neck. And you can go back and forth with your foundation brush to make sure that there's no harsh lines and everything is blended seamlessly. And then I'm just blending my forehead along the perimeter, and I don't mind bringing it a little bit closer to the center as well because we're still going to add concealer here. I also like to connect my forehead and my cheekbone contour. I just think it looks way more cohesive. Next, we're going to do one of my favorite steps, which is my cream and liquid blush. One of my favorite affordable liquid blushes is the Juvia's Place liquid blush. The one I'm going to use today is in the shade Barbie Rose. I love pink blush, and I think there's definitely a shade of pink blush for every skin tone. They have plenty of different shades: purple, pinks, oranges. Today we have to do pink. It's my favorite color. So if you are a beginner, you have to be very, very, very careful with this because it is extremely pigmented. So what I like to do is after I take the applicator out, I like to swipe off the excess, and then I'll apply the blush onto the back of my hand. And then you can get your blush brush. I like ones that are tapered like this, and you can tap it into the blush on the back of your hand and then go ahead and apply it to your skin. As you can see, this kind of helps to do the blending for you, so you don't have to worry about accidentally applying too much product. And then the way that I apply my cream blush, I like to put it all over my cheekbone. Again, the placement will depend on the shape of your face. And then I bring it close to my under eye where I'm going to apply my concealer. I love doing this because it really helps for a flawless and seamless blend between your concealer and your cream blush. I also like to go back in with the brush I used to contour just to tap around the edges and make sure there's also a seamless blend between the blush and the contour. Alternating between brushes like this is really going to help you to make sure your makeup is as blended and flawless as possible. Blending is key. For concealer, I have two different concealers that I absolutely love that are affordable. The e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealers are so good. You can find them anywhere. And then I also really love the Juvia's Place concealer. I believe the Juvia's Place one does have a better shade range than the e.l.f., but I think e.l.f. is a little bit more accessible and it's also less expensive than the Juvia's Place. But both are really good. Today I'm going to use my e.l.f. concealers. I have two shades of concealer here, and I'm going to show you how I use both. I'm going to start with the darker shade, and I'm going to apply that directly under my eyes like so. This concealer should be 1 to 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. And I apply a pretty generous amount, but I like to keep it towards the center of my face. I'm also going to highlight the high points of my face or the center of my face, which is the bridge of my nose, the center of my forehead, above my lip, and my chin. So to maximize the coverage of your concealer, you're going to want to let it sit for a couple of minutes, maybe 2 minutes or so, and then we'll blend it out. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes and I'm gonna blend out my concealer. If you are a beginner, you may want to use a beauty blender, but I really believe in using brushes. I'm using this Sephora Collection concealer brush, and I'm just going to blend everything out. Beauty sponges do really help with blending things easily and quickly, but I do believe that using brushes will help you to maximize your coverage and also be more precise with your blending. But with blending my forehead, I like to do the perimeter of the concealer and leave the center. And then I will go back in with my contour brush and also use that to blend that concealer out. For under the eyes, I start by blending along the perimeter. I know a lot of people start up in this corner, but I think it takes away more of the coverage. I like to start along the edges and blend those out first. I think it makes it way easier to blend everything else out, and then I move towards the inner corner. Again, along the perimeter, and then I will go up the side of my nose towards the inner corner and along the eye crease. You can also go back in with the brush you used for your liquid blush along the edges of your concealer, just to make sure they're blending in together easily. For some added brightness, I'm going to use a lighter shade of my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This one should be about 3 to 4 shades lighter. And you want to just apply that to the inner corners, a very small amount. And then I'm going to use the same concealer brush, and I'm just going to blend it into the corner of my under eye. I'm not going to drag this all the way out. You want the brightness to just be in the corner. I do have a more advanced bright under eye technique, but if you're a beginner, I think this is an easy and a quick way to add brightness without using too many different concealer shades or too many blending techniques. I do have a bright under eye tutorial up on my page, but if you guys want me to do an updated one, please let me know. Now we're going to set our face with powder. I think you should use a pressed and a loose setting powder. This is what a pressed powder looks like. The one I'm using is the Maybelline Fit Me powder. It should be in a pan like this and pressed. For my loose powder today, I'm going to be using the Morphe Banana powder. This one will be in like a jar. So first, we're going to use the pressed powder. Your pressed powder should be about 3 shades lighter than your skin tone. You don't want to use something that is the same shade as your skin tone because this will make your under eye look dark. Even if you don't want your under eye to be super bright, your setting powder that you use under your eye should still be brighter than you, even if it's just 1 or 2 shades. I'm also going to use a powder puff. You can get a pack of these on Amazon. They're really affordable. And I rub the powder into the pressed powder. Then I smooth everything out in the palm of my hand. This makes sure that the powder is evenly distributed on the powder puff. Now I'm going to look up into my handheld mirror. As you guys can see, some creases have formed underneath my eyes. We don't want to set any creases into place. So what I'm going to do is just blend those out with my concealer brush. And then I'm going to take my powder puff without looking down because we don't want to crease them again. And I'm going to press the powder into my under eye. And make sure you're getting all the way up under your eye where it would crease. I like to go all the way across under my eye, even if it goes over the blush. I think that it helps with blending purposes. But as you can see, that powder is so good. I've been asleep on it. It's really smoothing. Again, I'm going to gather some of the powder on my powder puff, smooth it out in the palm of my hand, look up into my handheld mirror and blend out any creases, grab up my powder puff again without looking down, and press the powder puff into my under eye. I also personally like to tap over my nose. I don't add any extra product, but if you have a very oily nose, you can definitely tap into the powder again and go over your nose. Before we get into setting with loose powder, I'm also going to use another pressed powder. This one is the same shade as my skin tone. This is my e.l.f. Camo Powder Foundation, and I'm in the shade Deep 530W. As you can see, I really like this powder. I have started to hit pan on it. And I'm going to take a large powder brush and get some of the powder on there. And I'm going to set the rest of my face. Depending on your skin type, you can go light or heavy with this, but even if you have dry skin, I do believe you should do this because you don't want any part of your face to be wet or sticky with the liquid products that we use. If you have oily skin like I do, you can go in a little bit heavier with this powder. And then if you put foundation on your neck like I did, make sure you also powder your neck. As you can see, powder makes everything set into place, but also it makes your skin look so smooth. When it comes to loose powders, I'm very hard to please, and I don't think anything compares to my favorite high-end loose powders. But as a beginner, I understand that you definitely don't want to spend a lot of money on products as you're starting to learn makeup. My favorite affordable loose powder was from Beauty Bakery, but unfortunately the brand has closed down. But I do think this Morphe one is really nice, and it comes in a few different shades. Today I'm using the banana shade, and I'm going to use the same powder puff that we used for the pressed powder. I'm going to put some of the loose powder into the cap, and then I'm going to take my powder puff and press it into the powder. Again, this is extremely important, especially with loose powder. You want to smooth it out in the palm of your hand so that the powder is evenly distributed. You don't want any chunks or lumps in the loose powder. It should look smooth and even on the powder puff. And now I'm going to bake. If you have dry skin, you can just press this powder into your under eye until it blends out. But again, since I have oily skin, I am going to bake. And I like to go along the sides of my nose first as like a reverse contour. And then I'm going to press the powder directly under my eyes. And that is about where I like to bake. Baking helps to add brightness. And then it also helps to make sure the area that you bake doesn't crease or become oily. I also like to take the powder brush that we used before to set the rest of our face just to smooth out the edges, because you don't want there to be any harsh lines like this where you bake, because that can create lines in your makeup. I personally also like to bake the bridge of my nose and then also above my lip. I tend to get oily in that area, and also on my smile lines, I crease there as well. I like to let my bake sit for around 2 to 5 minutes. It really depends on the powder, you guys. Some powders should not sit on your face too long at all, and some powders can allow for a little extra time. Okay, I let this sit for about 3 minutes, and now I'm just using a powder brush to blend this out. Okay, I'm gonna be honest for a second. That is my first time using the Morphe powder in a long time because, as I said, I usually prefer my high-end powders. And for some reason, it made me look a little bit dry and patchy. So all I did was take some setting spray. This is the Juvia's Place setting spray. And I just sprayed my face to rehydrate my skin. And it definitely looks a little bit better now. So that wasn't terrible. But guys, if you have a drugstore or an affordable powder that you love, please recommend it to me because I don't love any of the ones that I use, except for that Maybelline press powder. I like some of them, I think they're okay, but I don't love them and they don't compare at all to my high-end powders. Okay, next we're gonna do powder blush and powder bronzer. For both, I really enjoy Juvia's Place. I think they have the best shades of blush and bronzer. For my bronzer, I'm going to use the Juvia's Place Blush Duo in Deep Dark. As you can see, I really like this palette. I like using the shade on top, and I'm taking it on an angled brush, and I'm basically applying this where we applied our contour. And the difference is that contour is to add shadows and bronzer is to add warmth. So as you can see, my skin is already starting to look a little bit more sun-kissed, a little bit warmer with the bronzer. And it's so nice as a chocolate girl to have bronzer options now, because for such a long time, for years, I never used any bronzer. I also highly prefer to use powder bronzer to contour my nose. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to take this eyeshadow brush. It's kind of fluffy. It's a little bit fluffy but still dense, and I'm going to take a little bit of that top shade and I am just going to go straight down the sides of my nose. You want to use a light hand and a light amount of product for this so that you don't over contour your nose and you're not able to blend it or you make it look muddy. And I like to always blend this into my brow bone as well. I think that just allows for a more seamless blend. And then I like to go along the bottom of my nose, and something I don't see other people do, but I always do, is just completely cover my nostril. I think this helps to add shadows to your nose and help make the bridge look more defined. And then I also like to go across the top to create that little button shape or emphasize it. And that's all that I do. It's really quick and easy, and it doesn't look too harsh. Now for another of my favorite parts, I'm going to do my blush. For today, I'm using the Juvia's Place blush in volume 5. It's this gorgeous, stunning, beautiful hot pink color that I think looks stunning on all skin tones. So I'm going to take this on a loose blush brush, and I'm using the darker shade on top, and I'm applying that to the high points of my cheekbones. The pigment is stunning, the blendability is amazing. I love these blushes, and you can add as much or as little as you want. I'm a blush girl. Y'all know this by now. I'm a blush girl, so I go in pretty heavily. I'm gonna try not to do too much, but that literally never works. I always end up going in with a lot of blush. And then the same way we did this with the liquid blush, I like to gradually move closer towards my under eye. You don't want to go all the way under your eye, but you can move a little bit closer to it, and then I'll show you how we can make this look as blended as possible. Yeah, I definitely added a lot of blush. It happens every time, girl. Now this step is optional, but I like to use a brightening powder to brighten underneath my eyes. This is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop powder in the shade Light. If you don't want to get an extra powder, you can also use the pressed powder that we used before. Just make sure the powder is pressed. And then I'm going to get this small brush, and I'm going to dip into my brightening powder, and I'm going to start by applying it to the inner corner of my under eye just to make it a little bit brighter. And then I'm going to blend the blush and my under eye together. You don't want to add more product once you press the majority of it into the corner, because we don't want this entire area to be too bright. We just want the inner corner to be the brightest point of the under eye. And then I just like to use this blush. I just like to use this brush to blend them together. As you can see, this side is way more blended and seamless than this side. I think this is how, listen girls, this is how everybody's blush looks, which is fine. It looks good, but if you want your makeup, if you want to take it there, blend your under eye and your blush together. Again, you do not have to use a brightening shade if you don't want to. I love a nice bright under eye, so that's what I do. You can also use the pressed powder shade we used before. For mascaras, I love the Essence Lash Princess. The label is literally all rubbed off. I also really love the Maybelline mascaras. This one is the Sky High mascara. I'm going to put my mascara on first, and then I'm also going to put on a pair of lashes. If you want a separate tutorial on how to apply false eyelashes, I can definitely do that for you. Just let me know if you want to see that. Okay, I put on my lashes and mascara. I love a lash girl. I love lashes. Today I used the Juvia's Place lashes in Royalty. I love Juvia's Place lashes. They're so beautiful, come in so many different styles, and are so affordable. I also really love Ardell and Kiss lashes as well. Now we're gonna move on to another favorite part of mine, which is my lip combo. I love doing a full lip combo with liner, lipstick, and lip gloss, but you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. For my liners, my favorite affordable liners, Juvia's Place. I know there's been so much Juvia's Place in this video, but these liners are so good and they have such a good shade range for my skin tone. So I'm going to start with the shade Espresso and I'm going to line my lips. Like, look at how beautiful and deep that shade is. I'm also going to use the shade Brownie from Juvia's Place as well on the inside part. As you can see, this shade is a little bit lighter and warmer. It'll be a good transition shade for the rest of the lip combo. Let me try to stop talking while I'm applying this. I absolutely love Milani Color Fetish lipsticks. They have so many beautiful shades and I just love this formula. It's so lightweight. The one I'm using is in the shade Peony and I'm going to apply that to the center of my lips. For my lip gloss, you guys know I love the CoverGirl Yummy Gloss, but I think for this lip combo, I want one that's a little bit more pigmented. I also really love the Maybelline Lifter glosses. The one I'm using today is in the shade Reef. I'm also going to apply this to the center of my lips. Now lastly, I am going to set my face. I do have this new e.l.f. Power Grip setting spray. I'm not going to use it today because I don't know if I like it, you guys. I like to use two setting sprays. First, I'm going to use the Juvia's Place Ready Set Sealed setting spray. And then over that, I'm going to use the NYX Matte Finish setting spray. I used to use this all the time. This is probably one of the first ones I ever used. And then you want to let your face dry. Do not move, smile, emote, because you don't want to create any creases and set those into place. I will say I am pretty satisfied with how that Morphe powder looks at the end of my makeup look, but girl, I was a little scared when I was wiping it away. But here is the completed look. This is my beginner makeup look using affordable and drugstore products. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments so that I can help. And let me know what you think of the look. I absolutely love this makeup look. I think it is stunning, it is flawless, it is smooth, and I really believe in you and I think you can achieve it as a beginner. Please make sure to also give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss another video from me. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!